unbelievable moments. She surprised him with a touching request to make memories that last forever. Emily stood in the kitchen, surrounded by takeout containers scattered like her spiraling thoughts. The faint hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the cramped space. Her heart raced as she prepped for another evening of balancing her duties as a nurse and a single mother. Jake, her promising 17-year-old son, was at the threshold of graduation, an exhilarating milestone laced with anxiety. Could she truly provide the support he needed to follow his dreams of studying architecture? The gnawing worry in her gut threatened to suffocate her. "Mom, you okay?" Jake's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts. She faked a smile, waving off his concern. But internally, she questioned her ability to give her son the life he deserved, battling the pressure of student loans, bills, and the impending uncertainties they faced. They had always operated on a tight budget. The whispers of college costs loomed over them like an impending storm, and every moment spent at the hardware store with his grandfather reminded him of what they lacked. "Let us make some unforgettable memories before graduation," she blurted out, desperation echoing in her voice. Emily felt her heart pounding with the weight of that request, the idea catching her off guard. But it was a heartfelt solution to their unrest. As she laid out her sentiments, camping under the stars and building a treehouse to solidify their bond, she felt an unexpected rush of hope entwining with her dread. Before they could dive deeper into planning, an unsettling thought crossed her mind. She took a deep breath. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As days passed, tension grew. It morphed from excitement into a cascade of regret, the nearly forgotten memories coming to the surface to haunt Emily. While searching for materials in the attic for their project, they stumbled upon a dusty box of family memorabilia. Inside lay a vintage compass, tied to estranged relatives and old family feuds. The last thing she wanted was for Jake to be embroiled in the past that clung like a shadow. She held that compass, and its weight reminded her of generations of unresolved conflicts, resonating deeply within her worries of not being enough. Jake's dream propelled him forward. But did that dream come with a cost? Images of soaring buildings danced in his mind, yet their reality was dotted with reminders of financial limitations. The ghost of their ancestors' bitterness twisted into knots in Emily's stomach. Each memory she shared was tinged with an unsettling guilt. What if confronting the past meant sacrificing the bond they were building? She felt buried under the choices that lay ahead, the burden of her family's legacy threatening to undo their fragile happiness. Graduation was looming, and with it came the bitter realization that memories could just as easily become burdens. Emily clutched the compass tightly, torn between honoring the past and protecting her son's future, while Jake stood frozen, caught between admiration for his mother's efforts and the pressing thought that every moment shared might pull them back into the obscurity of family feuds. They were standing at a precipice, uncertainty looming before them like an unyielding specter bearing down on their next steps. What would they choose? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the kitchen, Emily wrestled with the symbolism of the compass in her hand. It wasn't merely a relic. It represented a lineage plagued by discord and expectations. She recognized that it was becoming a litmus test of their bond, a reflection of how her choices could either tether Jake to burdens that were not his to carry or liberate him to pursue the dreams he yearned for. "Mom," Jake finally spoke, pulling her from her spiral of uncertainty. "What else with the compass?" His curiosity shimmered in his eyes, cutting through the cloud of her anxiety. It's family history," Emily stammered, struggling to find the right words. She sensed that discussing it would force them both to confront the very fear she wished to shield him from. It belonged to your great-grandfather. He had a tough time reconciling his dreams with reality. Like us? Jake asked, vulnerability layered beneath his typical teenage bravado. The question echoed in Emily's mind, weighing heavily against her determination to instill hope. What do you mean? Every time I think about college, I wonder if I can handle it. If it's not too much money, what if I fail? His admission struck her with a painful clarity. Here he was, on the brink of chasing his dreams, yet shadows of doubt were already creeping into his thoughts. It was both an awakening and a reminder that her son was inheriting not just her aspirations, but also her insecurities. "Jake, everyone encounters fear," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "What defines us is what we do with that fear." She paused, unsure if her words carried the weight she intended. "What matters is that you start building from your dreams. The mistakes of the past don't have to define you." "But is it really possible?" He pressed, his brow furrowing. "To achieve something without falling into the same traps?" "Yes," she asserted, a new resolve forming within her. "And it starts with us. Let us create those memories together, but let us do it in a way that reshapes our history instead of repeating it." In that moment, Emily realized that it wasn't merely the treehouse or starlit nights that could build their memories. It was the conscious decision to break the cycle, foster conversations about fear, ambition, and legacy. That night became a turning point, embedding new hope into their dialogue, prompting discussions that shifted towards aspirations rather than lack. Days transformed into a series of fleeting moments, filled with laughter and vulnerability. They pored over sketches Jake created for his dream projects, exploring architectural styles and sharing ideas, each line drawn solidifying a beautiful vision of his future. Yet, with each advancement, a gnawing tension lingered. Emily sensed the clock ticking toward graduation day, with mere weeks to prepare, each tick an echo teasing her with the looming decisions about college funding. The weight of the compass still lingered in her mind. A contradiction she grappled with. It represented both a guide and a burden. In the small hours of the night, when loneliness draped over her like a heavy quilt, she found herself contemplating what sacrifices she might need to make. Would re-engaging with the past be worth the potential risks? Their burgeoning connection felt tenuous, like a thread waiting to snap. As she prepared for Jake's graduation day, meant to celebrate a bright new chapter, she sensed the onset of an unavoidable confrontation with their family's legacy. On the eve of graduation, Jake's excitement buzzed in the air, filling the small apartment with a sense of possibility and hope. Yet, Emily found herself deeply introspective and anxious, aware that soon their past might intrude upon their carefully crafted present. When morning finally came, the moment of truth arrived. Would they choose to embrace their future together or allow the past to dictate their path? As she stood at the threshold of this pivotal day, Emily felt the compass weighing heavily in her pocket, igniting her resolve. She was about to step into the unknown, ready to confront her family's history head-on. Whether Jake was prepared to stand beside her remained uncertain. The choices they were about to make could redefine not just their memories, but the very fabric of their lives. Frontier moments awaited. What would they reveal? As the graduation ceremony commenced, Emily sat amidst a cacophony of celebratory noise, her gaze fixated on her son, draped in his cap and gown. He looked so grown up, yet beneath the surface, she sensed the knot of anxiety coiled tightly in his chest. Surrounded by jubilant parents and raucous teenagers, Emily felt acutely aware of the dichotomy between festivity and fear. Polished speeches resonated through the amphitheater, each word about chasing dreams echoed in Emily's mind. She squeezed the compass in her pocket, seeking solace in its familiar weight, as if it could center her amidst the chaos. Could she steer her son toward a future untainted by the struggles of their past? Doubt festered, and with every applause, she found herself caught in a whirlwind of what-if scenarios. As Jake walked across the stage to accept his diploma, Emily's heart swelled with pride. The image of his beaming face overshadowed her insecurities momentarily, igniting a fierce determination. Was this the moment to make a daring choice that could foster a new path? The idea of revealing the compass, its history, perhaps sharing her vulnerabilities, bubbled to the surface of her mind. After the ceremony, families mingled and exchanged stories, but Emily felt an urgent need to talk to Jake that wouldn't relent. She beckoned him away from the throngs of classmates and their exuberant families to a quieter corner. "Jake, can we talk for a minute?" she asked, her voice slightly shaky. He nodded, a curious look replacing the excitement in his eyes, and followed her to the edge of the school grounds, where towering trees formed a natural boundary against the noise. "What is up?" he asked, casually shifting his weight. Today felt monumental, didn't it? She started carefully, unsure how to tread this crucial conversation. "I've been thinking about what comes next. College, your dreams, it all feels like a big leap, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed." He exhaled deeply, the weight of the realization palpable between them. "Yeah, it's just a lot. I wanted to show you something," she said finally, pulling out the compass from her pocket, holding it out for him to see. Jake raised an eyebrow. "The compass? What does it have to do with anything?" "This belongs to your great-grandfather, but more than that, it's a symbol of guidance," she explained, her voice steadying. "It reminds me of the importance of finding direction, especially when the landscape is unfamiliar." He examined the compass, his fingers tracing its edges. "You really think this will help?" "It's not just about the compass, Jake. It's about us choosing how to carry our history. I didn't always make the right decisions, but I want us to carve out something different together that opens opportunities for innovation. Honestly, we can rewrite the narrative." The shadows of uncertainty crossed his face. "What if I mess it up? What if I end up just like him?" "You won't," she assured, a strength enveloping her words. "You'll face challenges. We all do. But you have the ability to use them as stepping stones, not setbacks. You can deviate from paths that were set for you." Jake looked at her, vulnerability surfacing in his eyes. "Are you really okay with me making choices, even if they're not what you've dreamed for me?" "Only if they're your choices." The sincerity radiated from Emily, enveloping both in a space of trust. "I want you to define what success means to you, not what has been expected." A flicker of hope sparked, yet uncertainty remained. Jake's breath quickened, and Emily grasped the weight of her own influence. She sensed she was standing at a critical juncture, torn between releasing control and allowing him the autonomy to forge his own destiny. Just as they began to speak again, shadows of discontent slithered into the moment, the arrival of friends calling for Jake to join the celebration. "Hey, I should go. They need me at the photos," he said, stepping back. "Hold on," Emily interjected, urgency spilling from her. "Whatever you decide, I want you to promise me you'll talk to me first. Don't let the past cloud your judgment or make you feel burdened. We can create something beautiful together. Please don't hesitate to reach out." "Yeah, I promise," he replied, but she noticed the hesitation and unspoken rebellion against commitment. As he turned to join his friends, Emily felt a pang of fear twist in her gut. What decisions lay ahead for him? And would he find the courage to lean into honesty rather than the expectations that clung to them? Moments later, when Jake glanced back at her amidst the laughter, she caught a glimpse of determination battling uncertainty in his expression. It was enough to replace her dread with a flicker of faith. Yet new questions loomed large. Could they both navigate the unknown together, where their paths diverged as much as they converged? With every laughter echoing around her, the future hung in a precarious balance, ripe with infinite possibilities. How would they make sense of their choices as they dawdled between past shadows and unfolding bright horizons? The following weeks unfolded like a delicate tapestry, each thread vibrant yet laced with uncertainty. As summer stretched its arms, Emily found herself navigating her new role as a mother of a recent graduate, a role that felt both exhilarating and intimidating. Jake dove into college preparation with a fervor that caught her off guard. The boy who had once struggled to articulate his dreams now spoke excitedly about majors and campus visits. Yet Emily couldn't shake the feeling that he was still wrestling with the ghosts of their past point one afternoon, She found him buried in research books at the dining table, a haphazard array of papers surrounding him like fallen leaves. It was a stark contrast to the carefree spirit she had witnessed on graduation day. Subtle glances exchanged over the header titles revealed an inner turmoil. Emily approached cautiously, sensing the dance of ambition and old fears. "Hey, can we chat for a bit?" Her voice sliced through the tension in the air. Jake looked up, momentarily startled. "Sure, what is up? I've been thinking a lot about what you said that day after graduation about making choices and not feeling burdened. I want to make sure you know I really mean it. This is your journey." He shifted uncomfortably. "Yeah, I know, but sometimes it feels like I'm expected to follow a certain path. I don't want to mess it up. You won't mess it up unless you don't choose it all. Remember the compass? I really believe you have the ability to chart your own course." She took a seat, leaning in closer. "What scares you the most about stepping out?" Jake sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair, a gesture Emily recognized as one of frustration. I don't want to fail. I wanted to be the first in our family to break free from the cycle. But what if I end up like him? A disappointment?" Her heart clenched at the mention of Jake's father, a specter that had hung over them since his departure years ago. "Jake, you're not that person. You're not defined by his choices, you're defined by yours. And every path holds potential for failure and growth." He examined her, a storm of emotion swirling in his eyes. "Sometimes I don't feel strong enough to make those choices. Strength isn't about never feeling weak. It's understanding you can rise despite it." Emily paused, searching for the right words. "What if we make a pact? For every decision you feel uncertain about, no matter how small, we could talk it through. I'll help you explore your options without judgment." His brows knitted together. "What if I choose something you don't agree with? Then we'll discuss it. But the choice will always be yours, Jake. This is about creating a foundation of trust." A flicker of recognition passed through his expression, but uncertainty clung like a shadow. "Okay, I can try that." Encouraged, Emily permitted herself a smile. This moment was a watershed, a bridge built between their fears and hopes. Yet, doubt echoed in her mind. Was this enough? She had fiercely advocated for Jake's autonomy, but more than that, she sought to empower him to move beyond his fears. That evening, as they shared a simple dinner filled with laughter punctuated by serious talks, she felt a shift. Jake seemed less burdened, more willing to embrace the discussions without the weight of expectations bearing down on him. After dinner, Jake slid into the living room, plopping onto the couch. For the first time, Emily didn't feel as though the walls were closing in. Instead, chains of the past had begun to rust, not completely unshackled, but shifting ever so slightly. "I'm going to reach out to the career coach tomorrow," he announced, a cautious excitement lacing his tone. "I want to figure out what I really want to do." "That is fantastic, Jake. I'm so proud of you." Just as the warmth in the room settled, an unexpected buzz from his phone shattered the moment, sending a knot of anxiety coiling back inside Emily. She could sense a shift, the tide turning away from this burgeoning independence. "What was that?" she asked, curiosity tinged with caution. Jake's face paled as he read the messages flooding in, laughter echoing through the screen as friends from graduation rallied together in a chat about plans for the upcoming weekend. "Just some friends," he replied, his voice cracking. "Maybe it's a good idea to talk before diving back into old distractions," she suggested, aware of the vulnerability that lay beneath the delightfully fun surface he projected. Jake looked torn, a battle etched into the lines on his forehead. "Yeah, sure, I just need some time." Emily felt the tension rise again. Would the lure of casual promises pull him back to a decision overshadowed by expectation? As he began to type back to his friends, Emily felt a tightening in her stomach. "Can we keep this momentum going?" Jake nodded absently, ensnared by the screen, but his gaze was far away, echoing a familiar fear, the desire to be seen. In that moment, Emily realized that while paths could converge, they could easily diverge as well if not carefully navigated. The towering trees outside cast long shadows, foreshadowing the decisions ahead, the very choices she hoped would define both their futures. With each passing day, the weight of their unspoken truths felt heavier. Would they find the courage to confront their fears or allow life to dictate their decisions? The following morning, as the sun rose with promise, Emily's heart raced with anticipation and dread. In a world filled with distractions and expectations, clarity felt miles away, threatening to drag both of them back into the shadows. Emily wondered, could she truly remind Jake that the real journey begins not in fleeing from the past, but in actively choosing to confront it head-on? Emily stepped into her office that morning, the scent of freshly brewed coffee offering a momentary reprieve from the swirling thoughts in her mind. As she settled into her chair, she couldn't shake the focus on Jake and the fragile progress of their conversations. She felt a visceral pull, a need to engage more deeply with the currents of uncertainty that raced through both their lives. Suddenly, an email pinged in her inbox, pulling her out of her reverie. It was from a community center where she volunteered, announcing an upcoming workshop designed for students navigating transitional phases in their lives, college-bound or otherwise. With an insightful mentor scheduled to lead the session, Emily sensed an opportunity. This could be a platform for both her and Jake to explore and reaffirm their paths without the weighty expectations that often accompany their discussions. She quickly drafted a reply, expressing her interest in attending, better yet, bringing Jake along. After hitting send, Emily paused, considering the implications. Would Jake see this as yet another attempt at guiding him rather than respecting his autonomy? The mindset shift she craved for him was just as crucial for her own growth. She needed to confront her tendency to step in too quickly. The relentless clock ticking on the wall served as a reminder of the fleeting moments they shared. As she deliberated, Emily recalled how daunting her own transitions had felt once leaving home for college, raising Jake alone while grappling with personal ambitions. This workshop could be a valuable space for both of them, a nudge to explore ambitions tucked beneath layers of familial fear. Later that evening, she revisited Jake, who was still entwined in his technology, tapping away on his phone. Gently interrupting, she asked if he might want to join her at the workshop next week. To her surprise, he leaned back, contemplating the suggestion quietly. "Isn't that for younger kids?" he replied, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Not at all. It's about finding clarity in choices, and I think it could be beneficial for both of us," she explained, her voice steady. "You'll get to hear from someone who specializes in helping students like you. No pressure, just exploration." He hesitated, internally battling the images of peers and how they might view such an event. "I don't know, Mom. What if it's boring or embarrassing?" "Then we leave," Emily offered, her expression unyielding, the respect for his autonomy paramount. "But wouldn't it be worthwhile to see what they have to say? We can approach it as a team." The silence stretched, and Emily watched as he grappled with the idea. She saw the internal conflict play out on his face, the desire for independence, conflicting with the latent fear of impending choices. "Okay, I'll think about it." There was a flicker of resignation in his voice, but beneath it, Emily sensed curiosity. The conversation sparked a new determination in her. After he retreated to his room, she began researching the workshop further, making notes on potential topics of discussion she could reflect back on with Jake afterward. Empowerment was not solely about independence, but also about the relationships they nurtured in the process. The days slipped by, with Emily preparing mentally for the workshop. Still, she knew that merely attending wasn't enough. There lay a deeper truth there. The house they built on communication, trust, and understanding could erode once more if they didn't continually confront the core fears attached to their past. As the weekend approached, a mix of anxiety and hope filled her. If Jake accepted her invitation, they would have the chance to confront their shared complexities, revealing insights that could pave their way forward. But then came a dreaded notification that threw her off balance. A message from Jake, indicating he was considering skipping the workshop to attend a weekend gathering with friends. To her, it felt like a step back into the comfort of ignorance and avoidance of the deeper fears they promised to face. Together, with the urgency of the moment heavy upon her, Emily resolved to talk to him, to confront not only his choices but her own fears of losing this deepening bond. The clock was ticking, and she understood that the time had come for them to face a pivotal moment in their relationship, an inflection point that could lead either to deeper understanding or further disconnection. She stood up, the air thick with possibility. "Jake, we need to talk." The moment loomed, charged with unspoken truths and choices demanding to be made. Would they step into new light together, or would the shadows pull them apart yet again? Emily stood in the doorway of Jake's room, the weight of her unspoken intention hanging in the air like a storm waiting to break. She had rehearsed the conversation in her mind countless times, but now, facing him, words felt elusive. Jake was sprawled on his bed, head hidden in the soft glow of his laptop screen, oblivious to the tumult brewing within her. "Jake," she began, her voice a fragile thread tugging at his attention. He glanced up, a mixture of curiosity and trepidation flickering in his eyes. "I saw your message about skipping the workshop," she said, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "What's going on?" He shifted uncomfortably, the tension in the room palpable. "I don't know, Mom. I'm not sure I want to go," he admitted, his voice tentative as if testing the waters. "All that stuff about goals and futures? It's overwhelming. Overwhelming can be good sometimes. It means you're challenging yourself." She hesitated, searching for the right approach. "Remember when you joined the robotics club last year? You were terrified at first, but look how much you enjoyed it." "Yeah, but that was different," he replied, the defensive tone creeping into his voice. He was retreating behind a wall of teenage dismissal, and she could sense it. It felt different because it was just a specific interest. "Jake, not about your entire future." She pressed on, knowing how easily her emotions could spiral into frustration. "But facing our fears is part of growth. It doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out right now." Jake's brow furrowed, struggling with the expectations he felt from the world outside and the hospitality she had extended for years. "What if it's just boring? What if none of it makes sense to me? Then we can laugh about it later," Emily offered, attempting a lightheartedness that belied her anxious heart. Laughter had always been their shared refuge. But what if it is eye-opening? What if it leads to new ideas, new connections? What if we discover something about ourselves? He stared at her, and she could almost see the wheels turning in his mind. The invitation to explore was becoming an unmissable opportunity, yet the fear of judgment from peers loomed large. I feel like I'm the only one stuck in this place of not knowing what I want to do," he confessed, an honesty breaking through the surface defenses he had built. "Stuck? Maybe not. How about this? We're both at critical junctures. Why don't we commit together?" The question hung heavily between them, a bridge to cross rather than a chasm to leap. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we both go. I can admit that I sometimes feel lost, too. I still navigate my career every day, and I don't have all the answers. Maybe we can learn from each other. It's not just about you. Jake, from my perspective, these moments help us bond. We'll leave any expectations at the door." Her honesty softened the air, causing him to contemplate the possibilities anew. She watched, perhaps for the first time, as he weighed their connection against external pressures. The shadows of fear hung in the corners of the room, yet the dawning insight illuminated a path forward. In the silence that ensued, Emily's heart raced. She considered Jake's potential for growth, but also her responsibility to stop reacting in ways that stifled rather than guided. She had been protective to an excess, but now it was time to embrace risk together. Finally, he spoke. "If we go, and I find it boring, I'm holding you to leaving early," he said, a hint of a smile creeping into his expression, the heaviness dissipating just a fraction. "Deal," she replied, relief flooding her. As they reached a reluctant agreement, something shifted in her, an understanding that her role as a mother was evolving. This journey wasn't just about leading Jake. It was about learning and growing alongside him, embracing vulnerabilities rather than controlling them. With a tentative resolution in place, Emily felt a surge of hope, tinged with worry about the workshop's revelations. What if it unveiled deeper insecurities? What if Jake's Connection to his peers intensified rather than diminished. But the risks were part of the process. Stepping beyond their comfort zones was essential. Every movement towards openness and honesty was a step towards redefining their relationship. She realized now it was not just about Jake discovering his path, but about her embracing her own journey of learning to let go. Jake turned back to his screen, but now he wasn't just a boy trapped in uncertainty. He was a young man on the cusp of discovery. The workshop loomed ahead like an uncharted territory, rich with potential. Unbeknownst to them, the night would bring revelations beyond what they could fathom, raising questions that spiraled into uncharted emotional landscapes. "Hey, want to plan our outfits for that workshop?" She joked, easing the moment. "Only if you promise to wear something ridiculous," he shot back, laughing more freely now, and Emily laughed with him, feeling lighter. Yet beneath the laughter, an eerie anticipation lingered. The workshop was only the beginning, and the deeper they excavated, the more they risked revealing hidden truths that might change everything. When the invitation to share their vulnerabilities rang through their hearts, Emily couldn't shake the looming question that flickered in her mind like a candle wavering in the dark. What would they unearth within themselves as they delved deeper into their fears and connections? Emily spent the following days oscillating between anticipation and dread. The workshop approached like an imminent storm, and with each tick of the clock, she became increasingly aware not only of the shifts taking place within Jake, but also in herself. It was more than just an exploration of her son's aspirations. She was on the brink of confronting her own uncertainties. At the tea night, she lay awake, mulling over her career as a manager in a marketing firm. The satisfaction brought on by her early successes had faded, and now the daily grind felt like a monotonous cycle. Each morning, she pushed through the routine, navigating through meetings and deadlines. Yet she could sense an urgency building inside her, a calling she was too afraid to identify. When she finally found time to reflect amid her chaos, she noticed the transformation within Jake reflected her own inner turmoil. His uncertainty mirrored her restlessness. Both of them stood on the precipice of change, gripped by the alluring yet terrifying need to confront their fears. One evening, as she prepared dinner, the aroma of roasted vegetables filled the kitchen. Jake wandered in, the familiar glow of the laptop abandoned for the first time in days. "Hey, Mom," he said, leaning casually against the counter. "Thanks for, pushing me to go to the workshop." He paused, uncertainty softening his grin. "I think I'm actually excited about it now." Emily couldn't help but smile at the spark illuminating his face. "I'm proud of you for being brave, Jake," she said, a shift in her spirit revitalizing her. "It takes courage to step into the unknown." "Thanks," he replied, but then his expression turned quizzical. "What about you? How are you feeling about it?" The question caught her off guard. She had been so focused on encouraging him that she hadn't taken the time to consider her own motivations. There was a part of her that wanted to shield her vulnerabilities from him, but honesty was now the currency of their renewed connection. "I guess I'm scared, too," she admitted gently, stirring the vegetables in the pan. "I felt a little lost for a while now, like everything in my life has become routine. I want to find something more fulfilling." Jake seemed to ponder this for a moment, and he nodded slowly, as though understanding the weight of a shared burden. "Then let us make a pact. If I promise to face my fears, you should promise to do the same." We jump in together. A rush of gratitude swelled within her. It was a touching request, veiled by the imperfection of their existing relationship, yet it was genuine. She realized in that moment that they were not just mother and son navigating their fears. They were individuals journeying toward self-discovery, entwined in a shared commitment to growth. "Deal," she replied, her heart buoyed by this unexpected alliance. The next morning, the sun shone brightly, casting a hopeful light through the kitchen window as they prepared for the workshop. While Jake dressed, she rummaged through her wardrobe, picking out an outfit that felt brave, but comfortable, a reflection of the exhilarating risk she was willing to embrace. Tea breakfast. Jake poured cereal for them both. "If it's boring, can we leave early?" He joked lightly, But the underlying seriousness in his tone revealed how deeply impacted he had been by their discussions. Absolutely, she responded with a grin. But I'm banking on it being anything but boring. As they set out, a subtle current of excitement thrummed between them. The vehicle ride was filled with conversation, banter, and a surprising sense of unity. They were not escaping their fears. They were stepping into a collaborative experience, armed with understanding and connection. When they arrived at the venue, the atmosphere buzzed with diverse individuals ready to explore and navigate their own uncertainties. Emily looked at Jake, who took a deep breath, his confidence bolstered by their pact. There was no turning back now. They were choosing to confront their unknowns together. As they entered the large room filled with strangers, a growing sense of vulnerability surged through Emily. The workshop's agenda included personal sharing circles, and the thought of opening up made her stomach twist with anxiety. Yet a realization washed over her. This was the opportunity she craved. The moment had arrived for them to confront their fears head-on, unearthing depths within themselves that could reshape their futures. The speaker welcomed them with a powerful message on vulnerability as a catalyst for growth. The room grew still in anticipation. Emily's heart raced, her palms clammy with the tension of commitment to honesty. But what she didn't know was how deeply these revelations would test both her and Jake's newfound resolve, forcing them to confront not only their fears, but also relationships and emotions they had kept locked away. "Here we go," she whispered to Jake, a mix of nerves and excitement fluttering within her. The moment of truth loomed ahead, and she felt an electric charge course through the room. Who would they become in this journey of self-discovery? As the speaker began, Emily felt the room shrink around her, almost as if reality was slowly folding in. Every word that resonated echoed thoughts she had kept confined beneath layers of self-doubt and fear. She turned to Jake, who was wide-eyed, absorbing every syllable. The sight of him, vulnerable yet eager to engage, sparked something in Emily, a flame of motivation flickering against the heavy blanket of uncertainty draped over her spirit. Vulnerability, isn't weakness, the speaker proclaimed with fervor, eyes scanning the room brimming with anxious participants. It's the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. With each declaration, Emily felt her heart rate quickening, resonating with an inner truth she had long buried under corporate jargon and a rhythm that no longer thrilled her. The decision crystallized in that moment. She wouldn't be merely an observer of this experience. Engaging might render her even more exposed. Yet what if this was the catalyst for all she desired? The transformation required confrontation. It was time to reflect on her professional status and her aspirations, long overshadowed by the fears of action. When the first sharing circle was announced, anxiety clawed at her gut. Participants were encouraged to express their deepest fears. One by one, strangers shared stories of failures that morphed into personal awakening or profound realizations about the self. Emily felt the weight of her fears coiling tightly around her. They whispered doubts. What if her struggles remained unearthed? What would that say about her? Jake was looking at her now, a question in his gaze. Without consciously deciding, Emily nodded, a silent answer to a shared, unspoken agreement. The pact they made was forged in trust, and she would carry her end. She stood, her legs felt foreign. The collective gaze pooling upon her ignited a rush of adrenaline. "I've always been afraid of failure," she began, her voice wavering as those sentiments danced in the air, almost mocking her. "As a manager, I've often prioritized stability over creativity, convinced it would ensure success." Every word fell from her lips, constructing a bridge from her regrets to potential growth. Her heart thundered as she continued, "But lately, I've felt stifled, empty. I've been pursuing someone else's definition of success." The revelation seemed to resonate through the room, soft nodding from several attendees, illuminating their shared sentiments. Jake's eyes held a fierce pride, mingled with something else understanding. Emily spoke of her desire to explore new avenues, to embrace unpredictability that could lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment, not just for her work life, but for her identity as well. When she stepped down, the vulnerability hung in the air, a tangible thread between herself and others who were now indelibly connected by shared fears. The applause that followed was unexpected, and within that warmth, Emily felt a rush of empowerment. It was exhilarating to bear the truths so tightly held for fear of judgment. She caught sight of Jake beaming at her, his earlier trepidation replaced by something profound admiration. Perhaps it marked an unspoken shift in their relationship. In sharing her truth, she hadn't just stepped into her growth. She had also created space for him to witness her transformation, someone he could aspire to be. The workshops unfolded into subsequent teachings and reflective tasks focused on self-acceptance and ambition, weaving stories of hardship into narratives of strength. As she navigated this journey alongside Jake, they both learned to articulate their aspirations better, recognizing where their lives had become complacent. But as the day's final session approached, Emily began to grapple with new questions. How would she integrate this newfound clarity into her daily life? What changes awaited her beyond the walls of this room? The energy shifted, and the emotional intensity intensified with every shared experience. There was an undeniable sense of collective growth, yet Emily realized it wasn't enough to simply share. She needed to act. She found herself contemplating the gravity of the decisions ahead, renewing her career trajectory, potentially stepping away from her comfort zone, and redefining what success truly meant for her. They were about to engage in a final exercise aimed at revealing profound personal values, an open space for vulnerability just as before. The prospect both terrified and excited her, poised as it was between enlightenment and the serious risks of confrontational revelations. Ready for the next step? Jake asked, an earnestness etched in his expression. More than ever, she replied, forcing herself to quell the mounting nerves. What awaited them in this closing circle was still unknown, but she sensed that the real challenges were not concluded yet. Their truth held secrets ready to be unearthed, lurking in the shadows of their shared journey. As the final session commenced, the atmosphere shifted palpably. Anticipation swelled among participants, infused with the collective energy of exploration and growth. Emily's heart raced. This was the moment she would confront who she truly was beneath the intricacies of her carefully crafted professional persona, the mask she had donned for far too long. The facilitator guided them toward a self-reflective exercise, prompting participants to articulate their core values. Words like integrity, creativity, and authenticity resonated throughout the room, weaving a tapestry of intentions and hopes. Emily listened intently, her internal dialogue pressing against her thoughts like a freight train. What was really important to her? As the circle neared her, she felt an overwhelming weight of indecision. Just days ago, she was a shadow of herself adrift in a sea of conformity. Here, in this sanctuary of vulnerability, clarity began to form. She wanted creativity to be central to her identity. She craved authenticity not just in her personal life, but within her management role. But how could she articulate this longing without slipping back into the safety of practiced soberness? Taking a deep breath, she considered how she had often traded authenticity for acceptance. I've realized, she began, her voice steadier than before, that creativity is an untapped reservoir in my life. I've chased after what others deem success, but in doing so, I alienated a core part of myself. I want my work to reflect who I am, to be an embodiment of my values. The room hummed with murmurs of understanding. Emily couldn't meet Jake's gaze, afraid of the weight of his expectations, but she could feel his presence, offering silent encouragement. The facilitator prompted her to dig deeper. She built on her revelations, forging connections between personal and professional growth, her passion and ember igniting the air around her. Beyond the walls of these sessions, she pictured scenarios where she infused creativity within her projects, experiments that might lead to failure, but also triumph. each result a step forward in the right direction. This realization fueled her determination. She could no longer afford to let fear dictate her work autonomy. When she finished, applause surged through the space, but this time, it was different. Feelings of warmth enveloped her, a stark contrast to the isolation she often felt behind her corporate facade. Yet unease lingered in the air, causing ripples beneath her sense of achievement. She had spoken of change, but knew the real test awaited her outside these sessions. Jake's admiration twisted in her stomach. Their newfound bond felt electric, challenging the very notion of what it meant to share space authentically. She sensed the weight of unspoken implications in his gaze. As she stewed over questions of vulnerability, their moment of connection teetered on the edge of possibility. Could she redefine their relationship? She glanced over, catching his eye. The silent conversation that passed between them spoke of something larger than both of them: hope and potential wrapped in uncertainty. He was on his own journey, struggling to carve a path defined by his dreams. That realization struck Emily profoundly. They both needed to take risks, to challenge themselves together, if only they could communicate that. Let us not just be participants in this journey. Let us make a pact, she offered, the impulse surprising her. To confront our fears together. Make choices that mirror our true selves. Serve each other as accountability partners while embarking on this journey. The nodding heads around the room mirrored her sentiment. In that moment, she saw the truth beneath her proposition, the opportunity to create a foundation for growth that would extend far beyond these walls. Jake's expression morphed from surprise to seriousness. The weight of her words settled upon him, and she felt a shift. "I'm in," he said simply, renewing the pact that had begun forming throughout these days together. As they sealed their intention anew, a set of challenges unraveled before her, sharper and more daunting than before. How would they navigate this commitment in their day-to-day lives? What would it mean to face the reactions of their peers, to redefine success and creativity on their own terms? Emily's heart raced with both fear and excitement. She was poised at the precipice of transformation, aware that vulnerability now lay intricately woven into her professional tapestry. The taste of change lingered in the air, soon to clash with the realities of stepping outside established norms. But just as she set her sights on the horizon, aware of the journey ahead, a new challenge occurred to her. A pivotal decision awaited. How to present her aspirations to her superiors when she returned. Would they accept her authenticity, or would the shadows of corporate conformity loom larger than she hoped? With a sense of urgency, Emily felt the need for a plan. Her newfound clarity was merely the first step. Now she had to face her true test. The moment of truth approached, and the stakes had never been higher. As Emily slowly transitioned back into her daily life post-workshop, the conversation with Jake about confronting their individual fears and pursuing their genuine aspirations remained a source of motivation. Equipped with renewed courage, she swiftly initiated a dialogue at work aimed at redefining her managerial approach. Each day, she was more deliberate in her actions. Standing in front of her team, she opened up about her recent revelations and the importance of creativity in cultivating a robust work environment. It was a departure from her traditional leadership style, which had often been more about compliance than inspiration. As she carefully articulated her vision, she witnessed the flickers of recognition and excitement ripple through her colleagues. The embers of their enthusiasm ignited a spark of solidarity, something she yearned for, but had previously lacked in her field. Simultaneously, she encouraged Jake to pursue his own passions. Rather than placing pressure on him to conform to a traditional path, Emily began brainstorming ways they could explore architecture together. They visited local architectural exhibits, engaging with professionals in the field, providing Jake with reservoirs of inspiration without the stifling weight of familial expectations. Emily's credibility at work soared as her ideas took root, gradually amassing support. She spearheaded a project that integrated innovative marketing strategies with creative campaigns, an initiative that would later secure a significant client for their firm. Recognition from management soon followed, and Emily felt an exhilarating sense of achievement that was entirely new to her journey. She was no longer merely getting by in her career. She was actively contributing a powerful transformation from where she began. Jake, too, flourished. Fueled by their pact, he sought out internships related to architecture, where his youthful passion could meld with budding professional experience. He began presenting his sketches and ideas during family dinners, articulating not just his ambitions but his vulnerabilities. Discussions about college morphed from dread to inspiration. Rather than viewing acceptance letters with trepidation, Jake envisioned them as gateways to potential and creativity. The evolution in their dynamic was palpable as they navigated this newfound territory together. Emily let the compass rest on the shelf, a relic of the burdens they had cast off. It turned from a symbol of fear into a poignant reminder of how far they had come, each decision a compass point guiding them toward their true north. Yes, summer crowned itself with the golden hues of late evenings. Emily found herself standing in front of her manageress desk, ready to present her innovative ideas one final time. The stakes felt high. A promotion loomed on the horizon. She took a deep breath, recalling the workshop's teachings about vulnerability serving as a foundation for growth. I've been led by the expectations of others for too long. What I truly want is to embrace creativity and authenticity in our marketing strategies, she began. This time, there was no wavering in her voice. Her manager's reaction was tentative, but receptive eyebrows raised in intrigue rather than dismissal. The discussion unfolded as a robust exchange, a dialogue rather than a monologue. Emily left the room, knowing she had created space for visibility, not merely for her, but for her ideas, an accomplishment molded from intent and courage. In her personal sphere, she witnessed Jake's gradual acceptance of his choices, filling the gap left by his insecurities. Each conversation they shared imbued both of them with strength, a reflection of their individuality, strengthening their bond. His commitment to carving a niche in architecture reaffirmed the burgeoning trust propelling their lives forward. The final week of summer arrived, casting a reflective glow over their transformed lives. Jake received his acceptance notification from his chosen college. Pride swelled within him, mingled with excitement and fear. When he revealed the news to Emily, the moment transcended celebration. It marked a commitment to their pact, the manifestation of dreams through vulnerabilities laid bare. In a quiet moment after the initial excitement faded, Emily seized an opportunity for another essential conversation. I'm proud of you, Jake. You've grown so much this summer. It wasn't just about college acceptance. It was about finding your voice. His smile was genuine, though shadows of unease still lingered. I know, but it's still scary. What if I fail? Remember, Emily said firmly, we've chosen to redefine failure. It's not about the outcome. It's about learning and growing along the way. You're armed with insight now, supported by all the choices you've made to get here. In that simple exchange, she recognized that both were prepared not just to support each other, but to chase their dreams with intention and courage. As the stars punctuated the clear night sky, Emily grasped how immeasurably her life had transformed. She no longer felt overshadowed by family history, but instead carried it as a part of her narrative, one that empowered her, guided her son, and opened doors she would continue to walk through. Ready for whatever comes next? Jake asked, a newfound conviction settling in his voice. Always, she replied, knowing that they were poised to tackle whatever lay ahead. They had built their respective futures on trust, vulnerability, and creativity, forever linked as they ventured into the world armed with their lessons. This profound sense of achievement resonated deeply within both mother and son. Each step forward was now grounded in an unshakable confidence, a shared narrative of courage and fulfillment awaited them. Joy coiled around the air. There was no need for a compass to guide them anymore. They had indeed found their bearings. You need to subscribe now to witness more exclusive emotional stories that redefine personal journeys. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm because it makes a difference, and we want to see more of these transformative tales. Comment below with your reactions about Jake and Emily's journey. Your insights can inspire others. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who are eager for stories of genuine transformation. Don't wait even one more second to spread the inspiration.